Good afternoon and welcome to our afternoon session of our Fitz webinar. We are going to be talking about Prom Posies this afternoon. I am Mandy Majerik and I am in Birmingham, Alabama. I am one of the Fitz team members and you're here in my office and we're going to talk about some different unique styles you can do for some alternatives to corsages for prom. Here in our area, we have certain schools and corsages are the thing to do. And we also have other schools that people like to take little tussy-mussies or little prom posies, as we're calling them. So there's different ways that you can do them. You can make simply hand-tied bouquets, or you can use some of the cool Fitz products out there, like the new scepters. There are lots of little trinkets and tidbits that you can add in, some of that fun Fitz bling that can really take it to the next level and also help you with your profit margins. So as we talked about earlier, when we were talking about corsages and boutonnieres this morning, a little bit of selling the wow. You got to see some things that were pretty spectacular, maybe a little out of the box, but you always want to show something to let people know that you can do it. You definitely can't sell it if they can't see it, or you can't show it to them. So hopefully today you'll take a little opportunity and either make some things along with me, or hopefully take a few notes and pick up a few little tips, tricks, techniques that we'll talk about today. But I wanted to start out with showing you the first thing that we're going to make. If you have any questions during this presentation, Jamie from Fitz headquarters is also in our webinar today. And if you type in your questions in a little box, probably on the right side of your screen, she will be happy to verbally shout them out to me, and that way I can answer. Just kind of Jamie, butt in whenever you need to, if there's any questions and about how to do it, or any certain question about how to sell it, things like that. So we're definitely here to help you and educate you because we want you to be successful as well. That's part of our job. So the first thing that I want to make is this fun little prom posy. It's simply just a hand-tied bouquet of beautiful freedom roses. You can see right in the center. I've added in some of these, we call them lacy leaves. They come on a stem of 3, and I'll show you those in just a few minutes. But I just wanted to do something that was a little seductive, a little dark, that had this beautiful accent of silver as our metallic. We've got a few of the half-line feathers in here too to add a little flounce, a little personality to our posy. So the main thing to do when you start making things is to make sure, number 1, you have all the products that you need. Number 2, that those products are prepped appropriately for what you want to do. And I'm going to go through with you what we have here to go into our project. So you'll definitely need some ribbon. Here, I just chose the color black. I did use, as you can see, the sheer ribbon, because when you make a posy like this, if you do need a water source, this ribbon can go down in water and come right back out, and it'll dry in just a few seconds. So keep that in mind. You don't want to use necessarily a satin ribbon or anything like that for the one that we're about to make. So you definitely want to be savvy when you're choosing your materials as well. So we have the ribbon. This is the lacy leaves. They come from Fitz in a package, just like this, 3 to a stem. And they come flat. So like I said earlier in the first webinar, if you were watching, is that you can kind of bend the leaves and you can kind of massage them to kind of go in the different directions that you want to. You can keep it as one piece, or you can cut it at the joints and get a little more mileage about it for the product. And that's what I did. I simply cut them apart with some wire cutters. So we'll do that a little later in the project. You also have this river of diamonds. This is just one long continuous roll. It is one-sided. But what I like about this is, if you're a creative kid like me, you cannot cut a straight line. And I definitely cannot cut a straight line. So this is my little cheat sheet. It's gridded off, so it's super easy to cut when you need to. So we'll be showing some other different unique techniques you can use with this product as well. We also have some acrylic chain. This is called the Tracy chain. And it's simply different names for the different shapes of the chains that we'll be working with. But I like this one simply because when I use glue, it has a great little surface on the back to be able to glue to. So it's just very user-friendly. And lots come in one roll, so it's definitely a great value to use for different ways to go a little different mileage with the product. We also have these high-flying feathers. They simply are just feathers on a little pick that are floral taped to a pick. They don't have any rhinestones or bling attached. There's other feathers in the Fitz line that do have the rhinestones attached if you want. So this is a great alternative if you want to use some other accents and just need the feathers on a pick. So these are the high-flying feathers, and they also come in white. We use the white in our second project that we're going to do today. But I just want to show you a few things of how to work smarter and not harder, because I think being business owners, it's definitely time management. I mean, when you have 50 or plus corsages to make or posies to make, you don't want to wait until the last minute. So what I'm going to show you today are a few little things that you can make up ahead of time. Even that if you have a delivery driver or if you have someone else in your store that knows how to make a bow, that's not necessarily one of your high-paid employees and one of your lead designers, they can do some of this prep work as well. So you definitely want to make sure that you use people with their strong points and be able to go ahead and do things ahead of time. So we're just going to simply start with taking the ribbons and making a few bows. So the way I like to do my bows is I simply just cut a long tail first, because this is going to be what we actually tie the bow together with. Some people will use a floral taped wire, but just for our instance today, this will do just as well. We're going to use the ribbon just to tie it to itself. Then I cut one more piece because I like things to be a little flouncy, especially in this bouquet, because when people walk into the room, or if they're part of the homecoming court or the prom court, prom king or queen, and they're carrying a posy, then you want a little movement as they walk into the room as they're introduced. So the longer you leave these little streamers is just up to you completely. So what I'm going to do is turn my computer screen down so you can actually see what I'm doing with my hands. If you have any questions at all, definitely type them in, and Jamie will help facilitate that so I can help answer those for you. So you see we just have, let me pull that back just a little bit. So you see we just have a couple of pieces of ribbon at this point. And I'm just going to make a simple bow. You can make them as large as you want to or as small as you want to. For this one, I only use 6 roses in the posy. So I'm just going to do probably about a 4 or 6 loop bow. So it's not a double-sided ribbon. So I don't necessarily have to twist the ribbon as I'm making the bow. But I just make a couple little loose little loops here. And what I want to do is add my streamer right in like this. And then I'm simply going to take my other piece of ribbon and simply just tie it off so my bow is held together. So you just want to tie it just like that. And I'm going to double knot it. I know it's not too easy with my black apron to see, but just a simple little bow. And that's what you want to do, just like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and make 3 of these bows. So that's going to be our first one. And we'll make the next 2 pretty quickly here. Just go ahead and cut our tails. And you can make these 2-tone ribbons if you want to. You can do a lot of different things. You can use glittered ribbon, just however you want to doll these up. Is great. A great little accent. I think sometimes ribbon gets overlooked when it comes to using a lot of greenery and things like that. But for prom, ribbons are a little fancier necessarily than greenery. So I like to use a lot more ribbon at that time. Possibly for a wedding, you might use a little more greenery, but I think prom is definitely a fun time to use some of these nice ribbons that we have in our marketplace today. And, this is something that you can definitely, when you get a picture of the dress, you can get, match up colors, or when people come in and order, they can definitely pick out the ribbon themselves if you have it on your shelf. So, but definitely I would keep some standard colors in stock. There's a few standard things that we always keep in stock here. A lot of the Color Your World bracelets, a lot of the lace bracelets, different things like that are just pretty standard. That we use on a weekly basis. So, and this is also a great idea. We're talking about prom posies, but it would be a great thing for a wedding as well, for a little mother of the bride, nosegay or little posy. We make those a lot rather than pin-on corsages. So you can see here, If you used white ribbon, that might complement for a mother of the bride a little better. But just have fun with it. We're going to add that little streamer, and we're going to tie it right here with this ribbon again. So all of this and a little more can be done ahead of time. So when I say there's no time to be wasted in a flower shop, that is the truth. So many things can be done ahead of time. So at this point, we have 3 bows, approximately around the same size. You can see there's 3 there. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to take the half-lying feathers, and you can see that the half-lying feather is already floral taped onto a little thin wire. What I'm going to do is take floral tape, and I'm not taping it all the way down, so I'm going to be able to use the green. If you do have another color tape, that's fine as well. It's going to be hidden in the end by our wrap finish. So it's not a huge deal as to what color it is. So you just simply want to take the streamers that you tied your bow with, and you're going to, you see right here on your feather, I hope you can see it, right there on the top, how it's taped to the top, and then it gets thinner to where the feathers stop. You just want to kind of bend it in that little crook, just like that. And what I'm going to do is add that right to our bow, and I'm simply just going to put it right over the top, like so. So you're just going to put it right there. And with the wire and the ribbon both in my hand, I'm going to floral tape that together. So I'm simply just bending it, and I'm floral taping the 2 streamers that I tied the knot of the bow with to the actual wire of the feather. So you just want to go down just a little bit. So you see here, you end up with something that kind of looks a bit like this. So I'm going to put it in front of this white so you can see it a little better. But you see you've got the streamer floral taped, and your feather is folded over the front side here. So you're going to do that to all of them. So we'll just quickly take our other 2 bows and do the same thing. We're doing 3 because 3 come in a pack. So that's a better buying method, that you don't have a lot of leftovers out of your package. It will definitely cover a little 6-rose posy to collar it. So at this point, that's what we're doing. We're making our collar that's actually going to go around the bottom of our bouquet. And like I said, the main thing is just to go ahead and make this up early. That way, because feathers, they last forever, as well as the ribbon. So you can do these weeks and weeks in advance. And that's what I mean by working smarter and not harder. No need to stay up until 3 or 4 a.m. in the morning before everybody's going to come pick their corsages up. Or their posies up. So you can see I did the same thing for that one. And I'm going to do the same thing for this last one. Just going to gather the 2 tails that I tied the knot with. I'm going to take the little half-lying feather, bend it over. And I'm bending it over simply because I want those feathers to go out around the bottom of my bouquet. I don't want them to stick up. I want them to be the collar. Okay. So I'm going to tape these right into place. Okay. So pull your tape tight. And like I said, you can go down as far as you want to, but whatever you cover with your floral tape, you're going to have to end up doing your hand detail on as well. So now at this point, we have 3 feathers attached to 3 bows. Now the fun part begins to add in a little bit of our Fitz products, a little bit of our bling here. I'm going to move 2 of these over so we can just focus on this one that we have here. Okay, so you can see I have the couple of streamers that are coming down, and the rest of the bow is still going up. At the base of these 2 pieces right here, I'm going to take some of our Tracy chain, which is this right here, and I'm going to cut just a couple of pieces off. Okay, now what I like about this chain is you can use it in one long piece, or you can cut it apart. And what I've simply done before is I've just taken it and cut right in between the little pieces. So you can just cut right in between, and you're just getting the little single pieces now. Because these are very light, and they don't have any weight to the bottom of the bouquet, and they can go down into water. So your bouquet actually has a water source if it needs it. That's not an issue at all either. So you can see I just have a few cut, and I have a few more over here already pre-cut on the side. So what I'm going to do is I'm simply going to, I'll show you the finished product here. I take the piece of ribbon and I put one on each side. So it's just that little finished detail. So when you see it, it just flounces and brings down a little bit of the bling down to the bottom of the bouquet. So we're simply going to take some of our glue. And for those of you who aren't very familiar with glue or this adhesive, this Oasis Floral adhesive, when you open up a new bottle, it has a circular opening in the top. You just take some little pliers and you want to squeeze the top, the tip, just a little bit. And you want to squeeze it to where it has that oval shaped opening. That way your glue is not going to run out as quickly. So that's a great little tip to carry with you about the glue. Okay. So what we're going to do now, the glue loves to stick to itself, and that's one of the better things about this little detail as well, is that you're going to put two of these little Tracy pieces together, so it's actually glue sticking to glue through this sheer ribbon. So we're just going to turn the sparkly part over, the fancy part over, so our glue gets on the back side. And I'm going to do it for every streamer that we have of these bows. So I'm simply just going to start and just dot the backs of these pretty quickly. Doesn't take much at all. If your glue starts to run, you can just put it to the side. And we're going to add a little more here in a minute. Okay. So you just want to take the first one and you want to put it against your ribbon. And on the other side, you're going to take one and just match it up to itself. Just like this. And if you just hold it in place for a couple of seconds, it'll adhere to each other. So we're going to do the same thing with this other streamer. And if you work on a work surface, one of the great little tips to use is like a piece of ceramic tile. A mirror, perhaps, is a smooth surface to work off of. Also, when you get Fitz products in, they come around this little plastic. That is also a great little place to let your glue rest and to put your glue on. If you are a dabber or if you're a dipper, whichever you like to say. But it's definitely a great little thing to use too. So I'm just going to add these last couple of little pieces here now that they've tacked up just a little bit. Fold it over on that side. I'm going to pull my other bows back in. And I'm going to do the same thing on the bottom of these. And like I said, it's just adding that little bit of detail, that little bit of flair that'll set you apart from your neighbor, from the flower shop down the street. Because you want to let these girls know that they are special and they have come to you for a reason. There's a lot of places they can go and get flowers these days, but not everywhere has the creativity or necessarily the resources that you may have. And Fitz has such great products to make some of this just spectacular. And these girls, they see it in magazines. I definitely encourage you, now that we're coming up on prom season, to go to your local bookstore or go online. And you can look in the bookstore there on your iPad or your computer, and you can actually see what these girls are seeing. Buy a teen prom magazine. You want to make sure that you know what they're looking at and what they're looking for. Fitz products are highlighted in a lot of like the teen prom issues and things like that. So Fitz is doing their part to get out there and show these products. And so you want to make sure that when these girls come to you, that they definitely know that you're capable of doing something cool and something different, being a leader in the forefront of this floral market when it comes to prom. So I just have two more to do. So I'll just put a couple little pieces here, a little bit of glue. My fingers are starting to get a little bit sticky. If your fingers get sticky, the best thing to use that I've found are makeup removers. The little moist towelettes that you can find. are perfect to get some of this stickiness off. So I'm just going to add these two here. And I've got one more set to do. And we'll add these two together. So all of this can be pre-done ahead of time. And it just makes simply just pretty much wrapping the flowers and adding the last little detail to finish the order. So now at this point, we have all three of our little bows done with our little detail at the base. Now, if you want to really go crazy and really get more bling, you can definitely add them up into the bows. But I just wanted to make sure that at the bottom detail was covered. These are just little moist towelettes, little makeup removers. And you just take it and wipe it across your fingers, of course, and it gets a lot of that little stickiness off. So that's a great little tip to take away from today's webinar. I know a lot of people will use green glow or something like that, but this is definitely just a simple, easy, quick way to get that off. So now we have our collar assembled. So the next thing to do is to make our little posy of flowers. Now you can make these, we're going to set this aside. You can make these out of permanent botanicals if you want to, but we do a lot of fresh here in my area, and in my store we have the fresh available, so I definitely chose to do that. And if you want to promote this as a keepsake, then maybe using permanent botanicals is a great way to offer that to your customers as well. There is not a lot of rocket science to putting these little posies together. If you know the traditional way of making a hand-tied, that's what I would suggest. But I'm just simply going to raise this up for a second so you can kind of see a little better. I can hold it up for you. So I just have 6 red roses at this point, and I've already cleaned the stems, and I went ahead and cut them a little short. So you're not dealing with those long, long stems. There's no reason to. It's going to be a small little posy to carry. So what you want to do is you just want to start with one, and you want to add in to the left, and you're crisscrossing them as you add in, okay? And just take it the same way you would make like a bridal bouquet or something like that. You want to hold it and twist and add again, and you just want to keep doing that motion over and over again. Now I'll add this last one in. So 6 roses really does get you a nice little size posy. Okay, you want that little rounded shape going on. And so once you have your roses in place where you want it to go, we're simply just going to use some wet tape. We're going to use the Oasis wet tape that comes on a roll. It's sticky on one side and that dark green color on the other. And we're simply just going to wrap this right around the necks of our roses just to hold them in place. So when we're adding our detail, they're not sliding around on us, okay? So you definitely want to make sure that when you clean these roses, you go ahead and remove all the thorns because our prom girls are going to be able to hold these, and you don't want them to grab it and get injured or a little ouch for sure. And of course, it makes it a little nicer when you make it as well. So at this point, I'm just going to cut these stems off pretty evenly here, just for ease of use for us. Okay, so this is what you have. You have your posy. This is the only thing you have to make the day of when you're making this. Everything else can be pre-made, and you're just going to pull out your fresh roses. Next, I'm going to make the collar. So you can see now we have the little high-flying feathers that are leaning out from the ribbon, and then we have our little detail that's actually hanging down already. So I'm just simply going to cut this up under. And I'm going to go around and do the same thing with all 3. Just like that. So you can see the coverage is super nice all the way around the bouquet. Okay, every side has ribbon and has feathers. So the only tricky part about this is when you're binding this all together with your tape, you don't want to get any of your little ribbon tails caught up while you're putting your floral tape on. So I already have a piece already pre-cut, and I'm simply just going to come up under the bouquet, and I'm just wrapping this under all those ribbons, trying not to get the ribbons or the feathers stuck in that sticky tape. Okay, so we're just going to go around, and I'm keeping my binding point pretty tight. I'm not going all the way down the stem. I'm just keeping it right here close. more you do of these, the easier it becomes. But keeping these little ribbons out of the way, it can be a little task. All right, there we go. So now we've got this wrapped around, and it's going to secure all of our little ribbons together and reinforce our roses as they're together as well. So you can see here now, we just have a little bit
Mandy,
of that. Yes, ma'am?
is there a reason that you use waterproof tape and not corsage tape?
Yes. Corsage tape sticks to itself, but sometimes in water it will come apart. This waterproof tape will not come apart. So you definitely want to make sure that you use the waterproof tape when you're working on bouquets like this, on little posies. For corsages, of course, corsage tape is fine because they're not submerged in water. But if the water level in your vase gets up here, you definitely want to have waterproof tape.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. So at this point, we're going to add a little bit of detail up on the top, and we're going to do that with our lacy leaves. So remember they come 3 to a stem. So I'm simply just going to take my wire cutters, and I'm just going to cut them at the base, right where they meet at the joint. So I'm going to do that to all 3 of them. Now you could put the whole stem and let it kind of shelter over the roses if you want to, but I decided that I want to spread them apart. So I'm simply just going to take the leaves and give them a little bend, just like so. Okay, I'll do that with all the leaves here. Okay, and then I'm going to line them up, and it won't take me but a second to put a little glue on here, and then I'll show you where I'm putting them inside the bouquet. So you just want to put a little bit of glue right on the bottom. You can see here, it's just right on the tip, just like that. I'm going to do that to all 3. And then you simply just want to pick your bouquet up, and you want to figure out where you want these to go. I'm just going to nestle mine right in between a couple of the roses so they stick out, just like that. So it just adds that little fun element to the top of the posy. And I'm just going to turn it around and do that on this side as well. So now you can see I just added in those 3 leaves all the way around the bouquet. If you have more, of course, you could always embellish it a little bit more. But that's just enough to give it that other little dimension that really makes this bouquet appealing. The last little detail we're going to do for this little posy is how we're going to wrap it. Now, I don't want to wrap it all the way down because I want to be able to see this fun little detail on the bottom. So what I've done is I just kept all of my Oasis tape, my waterproof tape, up towards the top. And I'm going to take some of this fun diamond wire and just cut a little piece. And that's going to become my bouquet wrap. Now, one thing about this, you can definitely use cold glue or this adhesive to attach this as well. But one thing I like to do is use U-glue. And the U-glue strips make it so easy and so efficient. U-glue comes in dashes as well as it comes in these strips. And it's simply just a double-sided sticky tape or glue. You can see here, I just peeled the back off. I'm going to turn this down so you can see here. I just peeled that back off, and I'm just going to add it right to the back side of the River of Diamonds. I'm going to pull it back so your stickiness stays on that side of your River of Diamonds. So now you pretty much have a whole glue source all the way around. And you're just going to come right up under your bouquet. I'll turn it this way so you can see a little better. And you're just simply going to place your River of Diamonds there and go all the way around and create the mechanic that covers up the wrap. So you're bringing the bling right here into this wrap, as well as you have these little dangles on the bottom. And also, you're bringing back in that little bling to the top with the silver leaves with the little rhinestones on the top, the lacy leaves. Just one of my favorite Fitz accents to use. I think they're great for posies. I think they are great as corsage accents, and I definitely love them in men's boutonnieres. I think it's just a nice stately leaf with just a little hint of that bling that makes it so nice. Now, this is going to be our finished posy. And remember, I told you earlier to be real selective when you use your ribbon in your ribbon choices, because what you want to do now is you want to pull all these ribbons back. You would give this a fresh cut. So you open up the air vessels again, and then you just want to stick this right into a vase of water. Now, you can always pull these pieces of ribbon up if you want to, just to make sure that they don't go into the water. But if a few sneak down in there, you're going to be just fine, because the ribbon will be okay, and this Oasis adhesive is not going to come off in the water. So definitely a great, quick, little simple posy that you can make. Make 3/4 of it ahead of time, and that way you can just whip them out. Whether it's for prom, or this is something fun going to a pageant for a little girl, or if you want to make it a little more delicate and lighter colors, you could definitely do it for a mother bouquet, for a little nosegay to carry down the aisle on her daughter's big day. So great ideas and great options for something so simple. A great way to make money. Okay. And that's what we like. We like to see how you can do simple things, make them efficient, but make them spectacular. I like to say, as Don Draper said, make it simple yet significant. And I think that's what this is for sure. Okay. If you have any questions about that, you can let me know, and we'll go over anything you would like to about that. The second project that we're going to do today is also all about something for them to carry. Fitz has some wonderful scepters, different styles. This is actually called the Lotus scepter. And as you can see, it's one long piece and it has a little cup. Now, this is the finished product that we're going to make today, but I want to show you what it looks like when you just order it straight. It comes in 2 parts. It's going to come with the top, and it's also going to come with the bottom. Now, the bottom has this little bitty detail on it already, which is just like a little rhinestone detail. But you just want to simply screw it in. It's just that simple. No directions needed, which is nice. But just super simple, but super, super fun. And like I said, this also goes for great age ranges, whether it is your prom and they want something sparkly and they want to walk in and make a statement, or we have a lot of questions in my area about what flower girls can carry. This is also something super fun, especially when you're doing a lot of ribbon detail on there, to bring in for a little girl to carry, just a wishing wand or a fun little scepter as you want to sell it to her. So a great alternative use for product. So you should have, this is like I said, the Lotus scepter. We have this Dazzle garland, which is one of my favorites. And we also have the Flying High white feathers. We're going to use a little more of this River of Diamonds, so this goes a long way, so you should have some more of this. It comes in several different colors, by the way, too. So you can definitely specialize this according to the attire. And you'll just need some ribbon. Now, my ribbon of choice on this is I did 2 different colors because I wanted that dimension in the up towards the top of the scepter. Kind of on the bouquet area. So I just picked these 2 light colors to keep it fresh now that we're coming into spring and into prom season. It's nice, beautiful day outside here on St. Patrick's Day. So get a little yellow greenish tint to our ribbon here. So what we're going to do to start off with, we're going to make our bows. So I'm going to clear my little workstation off here. And we're going to really do pretty much the same thing that we did last time, but we're going to make 2 bows about the same size and 1 bow that's considerably smaller. So we're going to start with our tails because I love the movement draping down from the scepter. So you just want to cut a couple of tails. Okay. And I love the iridescent factor to this ribbon as well. If you all know when you're working with prom, the iridescent ribbons and iridescent things pick up all the different colors in the dresses. So it's definitely a great little compliment to any color, even if you don't know what the color is. That's a good tip too, that you should always use iridescent because it'll pick up whatever color they're wearing. So I'm making my ribbon, but I'm just going to make mine at the same time. You can make the yellow color, the larger color, and then your white in the center, or you can just make them together so all of the colors are interwoven. I'm just simply going to make it where all the colors are interwoven. So just the same way I did last time, just making a quick little bow. And I want these to be a considerable sized loop because we're going to put this underneath the top of the scepter. So we definitely want to be able to have a nice look to it. So it carries a little weight visually, that it's balanced in the end. So I'm just going to do two loops on each side, especially since we have the double ribbon. Okay, I'm going to add my tails. So you can see we have some pretty long tails for the scepter. And then I'm going to take one piece of ribbon and I'm going to tie it like we did before. I'm a huge fan of tying bows with their own ribbon when it's feasible, when it works for the mechanics that you're going for. I just think it's a lot cleaner look to keep it cohesive. So you just double knot right there just to make sure. So you want to kind of pull out these two pieces that you just tied with. So once we tie it around the scepter, it'll be easy for you to find these and all those pieces. So you want to set that to the side. We're going to do more. And I always start my bows with a little bit of a tail as well. Every bow person is different when they make their bows. Every person has a different method, a different technique. I grew up in the flower business. My grandmother owned a flower shop. And one of the first things that I did for her, other than sweep the floor and jump in the dumpster, because all floral kids have had to do that, was making bows and things like that. So it was definitely a great experience to learn from her how to do those things. And practice just makes perfect. So the more bows that you make, the better that you're going to get at this. Okay. And I'm doing it kind of quickly, but in the end, when you do get finished with your project, you definitely want to make sure that you cut the ends in a nice little even slant, or you can cut them in a dovetail shape if you want to. Dovetail cut. So you just want to make sure that it's finished and looks professional, of course. So we're just going to take this ribbon here and tie this bow off. And like I said, half the battle of making these successful scepters is just that you have all your prep work done. So this is the stuff that can be done ahead of time. I'm again pulling those two out. So we definitely can find those when we're ready. And then the last one we have is just a simple little bow that we're going to tuck down in the inside. So I'm not really going to cut any streamers for this one. But I do need a longer piece to be able to tie around the scepter. So we're just going to make another little double bow here. Just real simple, real petite. And these scepters, remember, when you sell these scepters, you're selling a keepsake. This is something great for these girls to keep, put in their rooms, possibly the way you make it. It might be that they bring it back to you next year and use it again. So, or pass it along to their sister or one of their friends who's going to be going to the prom the next year. So I'm just making a small little tight bow to go here in the center. So you can see this one's considerably smaller than the first one, the first two. So I'm just going to take that piece of ribbon and tie it just like that. Okay. So you want to leave these tails long as well, because we're going to tie into the top. All right. So now that we have our ribbon done, we're going to set those aside because when we're ready for them. And next, what we're going to do is we're going to decorate our handle. It's a lot easier to decorate the handle in the beginning. That way, you can focus on the flowers in the end. So you can see here when I pull these ribbons away, we have covered this handle with the River of Diamonds. So it's a great little quick, easy detail to do that can increase the value of the scepter. So you can do this with the cold glue adhesive if you want to. I'm going to tilt this back down here so you can see what I'm doing with my hands. I like to use U-glue. Again, I explained a little earlier what that is. But what you want to do, I'm going to unscrew this so we can see a little easier here. You want to measure. Now, we're going to have ribbons and things at the top in this area. But you really are concerned with this end. You want to make sure that you don't cover up your fun little detail that you've already paid for, the little extra rhinestones that you're already getting. So this actual width of River of Diamonds will go all the way around with no problem. So what I'm going to do is measure. So I just do to the end there, and I'm just simply going to cut here. So I already know that that's the right length for what I'm going to be working with. Okay, and then I'm going to take my U-glue strips, and I'm just simply going to lay them down all the way down. And what I'm doing is, one thing to remember, these aren't quite the width of this River of Diamonds. So what I'm going to do, when you look at this, the glue adhesive doesn't go all the way to the edge. You can see I have a little border there. I'm alternating these on the way down so that when I wrap this around, each part will actually adhere, each end. So I'll show you what I mean when I do this one. So now I've taken this one, and I'm going to make sure that this one hangs over the opposite side. You can see that this one's hanging to that side. So that way when you wrap it, it will all be held down. So I'm just going to do that all the way down, like so. It's a lot less messy than the glue or the other method that you can do. So I'm going to go all the way to the very end. So now you have the whole River of Diamonds that's covered with your U-glue strips. You can use a little dashes if you prefer to use the dashes. You can just put multiple dashes all the way down to start it. And then on the opposite side where you're going to finish, you want to put them a little bit closer together. So that way it's going to hold a little tighter. So what I'm going to do is pull back all of these pieces. So now this reveals the sticky nature of the U-glue. Okay, so we're just going to work our way down and peel all of that back. This U-glue also stretches a little bit if you want to play with that one day. But for ease of sake, for people who aren't familiar with it, it's just easier to go ahead and use the full amount of sheets. So what I'm going to do is just lay this down to where it lines up on the end. And then I'm simply going to begin to roll it onto the scepter. So our little handle, you just want to kind of pull it a little tight, like so, all the way up. Okay, so now if you have any that are hanging over, you can see that you might have a few little pieces. This is where you can just take a little bit of your cold glue adhesive. And if you have a little bit of glue buildup on the end, take your little makeup wipe and just go ahead and clean that off. And then you just want to put a simple little quick run down the edge that's going to keep that tight. Okay, so you just want to put your fingers down and hold that to secure it. Just a few seconds and it will be secure. And then we'll be able to screw it back on to the top of our Lotus scepter. I'm going to hold that in place for just a few more seconds. There's lots of these different scepters. This one is a little petite on the top, which I like. It has more of a tighter cup shape to it and some of that rhinestone detail. So like I said, it's perfect for what we're doing. And in this project, you could definitely add in some spray roses, I think alstroemeria, if you're comfortable with using that, and glue it in like you would a typical corsage. Now I'm just going to simply flip it over and screw the end right back into the holder here and get that tight. And then I'll continue to hold this just a little bit longer so I make sure that it's not going to come apart on our client. Okay. So at this point, you have your scepter and you have your handle covered. What you're going to do next is you're going to tie in that top bow up to the top part of your scepter to help cover up some of this part. I'm just using one large rose to add right into the center because we have these beautiful blown open roses, which I think are simply gorgeous to use for this. So you're going to take the smaller of your bows, which there it is, and you're going to take the two tails, like I told you to pull apart, and what we're going to do is simply feed it right through the top of the scepter. So you can see I went through the two leaves so it holds on the bottom. Okay, and then I'm going to go on the opposite side and do the same thing and just pull it through. So you see that this is what's happening. You're just getting your bow right into the center of the scepter, just like this. So now I'm going to pull it tight. I'm kind of just pushing against myself here to get a little pressure. And you just want to tie it on the underneath side. So it's not going to go anywhere. It's not going to slip on you because it's already through the top of that. So you can see here on the back side, I just simply tied it around the bottom of the top of the scepter. So now I'm just going to take some of these and pull them through the top of my holder, the top of my scepter here. Okay, all the way around. Even the tails can come through. And because what I'm going to do in the end is add in that flower, that one single flower right here to the top. So the more flat that it is, actually the better, because your excitement is going to be more on the outside anyway. So I'm going to add that one right through there. So you see now I've just kind of pulled them through the top of the scepter as well. So next we're going to take the other two bows that we have. And we have those two tails that we pulled to the side. You can see here. And what I'm going to do is simply take this and wrap it right underneath the top part of the scepter. I'm going to take these two tails of ribbon that I have, and I'm simply going to take them, and I'm going to twist them really tight, and I'm going to come back on the top side and knot it in place. Okay? So I'm coming back on the top side of my bow, and I'm just simply going to knot this in place, keeping it tight the whole time so it's going to be secured to the top of your handle. Okay, and you can twist your bow in different directions at this point, but we have the back side, which is naked, so now we want to add our other bow to the back side and do the exact same thing. I'm just going to add it right into that side. And you're going to come around the top, kind of weaving in between the ribbons. And you're going to come back around the ribbons again. And you're just simply going to tie it in place. So you want to make sure that it's tight and secured. Okay. So now you have made this wonderful little ribbon collar that goes all the way around the bottom of the scepter. So you've got a lot of movement going on at this point. And you can pull some of these back up through the top if you want to. You can push some down, you can pull some up, just to get things in the area that you want them so that it goes all the way around and finishes off the bottom of your scepter. So at this point, you can add in a little bit of your accents if you want to. You can add your flower in. I think it's a lot easier when it comes to the chains and things like that you go ahead and add them in now, because once you put your, especially one big bloom flower in the top, you don't want to have to come under it for any reason. So I'm going to take this great dazzle chain, and I'm just going to make a couple of cuts with my wire cutter here. And this is what's going to be part of our bling to hang down out of our holder. So I'm simply just going to place this through one of the leaves that's already in the grid work. I'm kind of using this Lotus scepter kind of as an armature to weave my delicate little dazzle chain through. I'm just going to pull it right on through. And that way you can just pull it to the bottom and it can just hang right in place. So you can weave it through some of the ribbons if you want to. But that way, that dazzle chain is going to hang down and add just a little bit of that bling movement to the base here you can see. So I'm going to add in a couple of more pieces here all the way around on opposite sides. Now, if you're really worried about this moving on you, could definitely take a little piece of wire and put a little piece of wire around there. But I like to keep it a little bit glue-free, so that way when this is done, they can definitely have a little bit of fun things they can add to anything they want to. They can put it on their notebooks or have fun, make little necklaces out of it. But that way they have pieces that they can play with. So you see here, I've got several of the little pieces of dazzle hanging down at this point. So now that we've gotten here, the thing we're going to do next is we're going to add our flower right into the top. So I've got these beautiful blown open roses. I mean, it's just gorgeous. So I'm simply going to cut right under the head here. And I'm pretty much not leaving the stem at all because I definitely want to just have it kind of flush to sit down in the bottom amongst my bow, especially into the bottom of my grid. So whenever you cut a fresh flower and you're using this cold glue adhesive, you definitely want to make sure that you cover where you cut. This really helps seal in the moisture of the flower because it's definitely going to be out of water. So you want to make sure, I just put a little bit of glue all the way around just to kind of be able to nestle among that ribbon. So now you can see I'm just going to insert this right into the base of my flower, of my ribbon. I'm just going to hold it right in place. Be careful when you're working with lighter color flowers like these white roses. They do bruise really easily, so you want to be pretty delicate with this. I'm just putting pressure down at the base just to help kind of let that glue set. Glue loves to stick to glue, so if you pull it out a little bit and let it breathe and stick it back in, the adhesion is going to be a little bit stronger, quicker to hold for you. So that's definitely one of the little tips is that the glue loves to stick to itself. So that's a better way, a better method of being able to keep it in place longer. And I love that the size of this rose is just perfect for this Lotus scepter. You can see that it just really fills up that whole scepter. And when you get to the side, you get to see some of that pretty collar effect. Okay. Now the last little detail that we're going to do, we're going to pull our little high-flying feathers. And what we're going to do is we're going to cut the little stems off. We don't need the wire on there for this because we're simply going to glue it in. So you just want to come under and just simply cut that little excess off, like so. And I've got a little extra glue here on my table, so I'm just going to dip a little in here. And I'm just simply going to add it in at the base of my flower in between my ribbons. So you can kind of see there, I'm adding that little detail in. And I'm just going to do that all the way around. Put me a little bit of glue right here on the surface. And go ahead and put my little feather right in there. I'm going to add it in. Now I'm actually gluing right under the flower, right on top of the scepter. So that way I know it's secure right underneath. I'm going to flip it around and glue it right in. So I'm going to hold this up so you can see. I inserted the feather under the flower, but right on top of the base of the scepter. So that way you make sure that it gets in there really, really well. So there's a lot of different Fitz products that you can just finish that little detail with. Just for the sake of what you have here, the materials, from our first project, we had some of that little Tracy acrylic chain. I had one of these little pieces cut already. So I'm simply going to just add a little piece right into the center of my flower. There are beautiful little brooches or beautiful pins that Fitz also has that you can accessorize and accent this with. But I'm just simply going to take this and kind of nestle it right down into the center of my flower. So when you look right down into the middle, you have a little bit of that fun bling pulled back in as well. So this is just a fun alternative to something different. Instead of just the plain hand-tied posy, you can definitely sell some of these scepters. Just a fun little whimsical idea, and not a lot of flower product. It's definitely all about the ribbon and the actual structure of the scepter itself. I've got another fun little one that I did. Because not all girls want to be over the top and elaborate, but they want that little hint of sparkle and they want that little something different that no other girl is going to have at the prom. So this is actually, if you can see here, this is called a sunbeam, and it actually goes all the way around, and you can see it has these points. What I did, it doesn't have a stem on it. It's just simply a radial of all of these little pieces coming out. I bent two down. And you can see here in the bottom, there's one and there's two. I simply bent those two down to help give me part of my stem. I added one beautiful red freedom rose right into the top. And then I simply took these and kind of massaged and bent them back, still keeping the sparkle in the top, but I just bent them back a little bit just to add a little whimsical movement to this grid. And that's exactly what I used it for. I used it as my armature, a grid which we weave flowers into, foliage into. I used some of this fun lily grass and just bound it into my handle with my wet tape. And then I simply came up and just did a simple little technique of just tying the lily grass. It won't come off. If you yank it too hard, it will break. But if you're just really delicate with it, it will catch under this last little piece of rhinestone, and it's not gonna slide off. If you're worried about it, you can put a little dab of glue there. But I definitely think that it's not going to go anywhere. But just what a simple little wow piece, a little couture piece for a girl to walk into the prom with. Just something simple as an accessory. So remember that all of these posies, these flowers, even corsages, they are the accessory. You know, girls go out and they spend all this money on their dress, on their hair, and we want to definitely make sure that we can design something and make something that complements that dress. Whether the dress was $200 or $800, you want to make sure that what you do is a beautiful complement to that piece. So never underestimate about the pricing. Never assume that you're never going to sell something for $100 to a girl going to the prom. You can in a heartbeat. I guarantee it. You just have to know the resources, and you have to know some of the products and know how to use them. So that's what these webinars are all about, is that you get all these different designers, which are part of the Fitz design team, and we get to explain to you how to use these, what works in our area, what may not work in our area. Like I said, I have girls who range all the way from wanting something really minimal and something simple, I guess you could say a little more traditional, to the girls who are wearing nothing but a black dress and they want this to make the statement for them. I could possibly do an interesting little thing like this on a smaller scale that she can wear in her hair. So just think about the way you can sell. You first sell a corsage, you can sell a boutonniere, and then you sell the something extra. So whether the something extra is an extra little posy that she might carry, it might be a hair accessory or a shoe accessory, but Fitz has great products to help you facilitate all of those. So this has been a great little example of how to use some of these in posies. If there's any questions, you can type them in, and I'll be happy to answer them for you. If Jamie will let me know if there's any. If not, then I think we're going to move to the marketing part. But if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Happy St. Patrick's Day to everybody. It was a fun day. I definitely remembered when I was scheduled to do these webinars. So I hope everybody has the luck of the Irish today, and have a fun night. If you're going out, please be careful and be safe. But from all of us at Fitz, Jamie, do we have a question?
Thanks, Mandy. Great job. Don't see any questions coming through.
All right,
we're going to pop up the poll here in a minute, and then we'll move on to the marketing, which is about having successful fundraisers.
All right, perfect. Well, happy St. Patrick's Day. Have a great day.
Thank you, Mandy.
Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon. Mandy just has a great style of teaching, and we are really proud to have her as a part of our team, and she adds a very different flavor to it. So quick kind of results on the about the poll we'd asked about doing fundraising this year. Pretty close, 54% said no, and 46% said yes. It is the most effective of the marketing tips that we have. So I'm going to walk through some basics about fundraising, and we'll answer questions as we go along. There's not a lot of slides, but there is a lot of detail for it. So first things first, I have a brand new granddaughter as of a couple hours ago. There's my new grandbaby, Fiona. I don't get to brag very often, but I'm going to take the opportunity on this one. So there's Miss Fiona. Her name was Natalia and has been Natalia all until it was determined she was going to be born on St. Patrick's Day. So they decided to give her a good Irish name and changed it to Fiona there at the last minute. Okay, so let's talk about fundraisers. The first thing to realize is that every school is raising money for something, whether it's football team, basketball team, the choir, scholastic events. Every school is raising money, and because they are, that gives you an opportunity to approach them and potentially look at doing fundraisers with them. Another thing to keep in mind is no matter what the project is, there is always a shortage of funding, and that's why there are fundraisers going on. So Every person you meet along the way is a potential new customer. Every organization that you meet along the way is also a potential new customer, because you may find that there's an opportunity to be doing fundraising with them. One of the things that we hear about often is that folks tell us that they approached the school about trying to sell in the school, and the school said, no, we can't do that. If we do it for you, we have to do it for everybody. And somewhat that is true. But at the same time, what I would say to you is, if you change your approach, you may find it's a different response. If you're approaching the school with the statement, we want to come to the school and sell corsages, that's really kind of saying to the school, we want to use you to increase our business. However, if you approach the school from a different perspective to say, we understand you're raising money for an event or for a certain piece of equipment or for something in particular, and we would like to help you meet that goal. We would like to partner with you. Then they don't feel as bad about giving you the opportunity to raise money, because they're going to get a portion of it. So look at the way you've approached the school in the past, and if you've approached them with that idea of being, from their perspective, we want to come to the school and make money, versus we want to come to the school and work with you to help you reach your goal, then you're going to get a much different response to them. One of the things that's definitely going to happen when you get the opportunity to work with them, we'll show you this in a little more detail, is the approach that you're going to have to be able to gain a number of very impactful new customers going forward to your business. So a little bit, here's the process. I'll refer to our school a few years ago when I worked with our band about going to New York City to be in the Thanksgiving Day parade. But as I said earlier, every project has a shortfall, has a budget shortfall. But here's pretty much the way it works. And again, I'll use our example. We were invited to the Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade. We knew we were going to have to raise money to be able to make that happen. So we were able to look at the known types of things. We were pretty, from history, to be able to look at what we were going to be able to get from certain categories. So the first thing we did was we set a budget. Now, if you've heard me talk about goals and plans, there was our goal. We set our goal, which was to go to New York City. Then we set our budget. And then we began to put together the pieces of that plan to meet our goal. So we were able to look at our past information, and we could get a pretty good idea of selling magazines, we were going to earn this much money. Selling candy, we were going to earn this much money. Selling cookies, we were going to be able to earn this much money. Popcorn, T-shirts, car washes, all the different things that we had exposure and experience with, we were able to look at and begin to plug in some numbers, which still left us with a pretty dramatic shortfall, and hence began the fundraising at that point. So because there is a shortage of money to go on each of these, there's also a shortage of ideas. There are lots of candy companies, lots of cookie companies, lots of magazine companies, of folks that are looking to help raise money. What happens with the fundraising committee is, after they've looked at each of those, then they have pretty much run out of ideas, and where do we begin to go to look to raise more money to help us with our situation. So the schools are constantly looking for new ideas. So when you approach them and you send them the letter we're going to show you, and talk to them about coming and being able to help them in a fundraiser, you're going to be bringing them a new idea. So here's two quick stories. When we were doing this for our band, we got a letter from the mulch company that was in town, wanted us to sell garden mulch for them as a way of raising money. The letter came to us as a group. We talked about it, and we pretty much all agreed that we had no idea why this was a good idea or how we would do anything with it. But at the same time, we knew we needed new ideas. So whoever was in charge at that point was asked to reach out to them, ask them to come to the next meeting and explain to us how this fundraising opportunity might work. I was opposed to it. I was opposed to it because the mulch company's competitor lived next door to my office, and I'd known him for many, many, many years. And I didn't want to feel like I was going behind his back. But anyway, we sent the invitation, and the next meeting, the gentleman from the mulch company came, and we said, okay, we don't understand this. Explain it to us. And he said, okay, it's very easy. Here's what you do every spring. Every spring, you unload the stuff out of your car. You drive to the garden center, the Home Depot, the grocery store. You go over to the mountains of mulch, and you begin to pull off the bags. They're not light bags. They're heavy. Most of them have now been out in the rain. They're soaked with rain. They weigh a lot. And so you reach and you pull down quite a few of these bags off of this mountain, and you begin to stack them on a cart. Then you have to take that cart and try and push all of that weight up to the register. Sometimes you have to unload that cart for the person at the register to scan it. Sometimes they're able to scan it from the cart, but you're going to have to push it up there. Then you're going to have to push it out to your car. Then you're going to have to unload every one of these off of the cart into the back of your car. Then you're going to get home and you're going to have to unload them again. And now you're already exhausted. In my case, we had done 80 to 100 bags a year. And we had to now drag these bags around the yard, put them in place, and then rip them open and spread them. So he went through and he told us this story. And he said, or I can put a pallet right on the corner of your driveway for you, and there they are, and you won't have to do any of that. Instantly, we thought we had a brilliant idea. For those of us on the committee, we clearly understood that here was a whole bunch of work we weren't going to have to do. And as he pointed out to us, we were going to pay the same price. However, part of the money was going to help the school and to help us go on our trip to New York. So we agreed to it. And we sold thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of bags of mulch. Because the mulch people had done kind of what I shared with you about a minute ago, is they approached us with a way to solve our problem about raising more money to be able to go on the trip, and not necessarily about him selling thousands of bags of mulch, which he did. So interesting thing was after the fundraiser was over, talking to him, and we said, thanks. This was really a great idea, and we think we did really well. And he said to us, well, you did okay. You didn't really do great. You did okay. And somewhat offended and astonished. What do you mean? We just did okay. He said, well, the school down the road did the same thing you did. However, they offered to spread it for $2 a bag, and they sold a whole lot more than you did. So again, we were looking for new ideas. Here was a new idea. It was a great new idea, and one, as near as I can tell, our school still does. The other was, up until just a few months ago, I slept on a Turpin Band fundraiser mattress. Again, looking for a new idea. The information came. What do you mean selling mattresses? How is this going to work? Visited with them, said, what do we have to lose? It was a 2 or 3 day event. And we began to raise money by selling mattresses. So the school is eager for new ideas. So when you contact them about doing a fundraiser or helping them with a fundraiser they've got going on, they're going to be receptive to your new idea because they're constantly looking for new ideas. So just kind of walk through and give you a little idea of the process. You'll send your letter saying that you want to help raise money for whatever the project is, and you'll be doing it by selling flowers or specifically selling corsages and boutonnieres. For the most part, they are not going to understand what you're telling them. And at that point, then you're likely to get the same invitation to come back and share how the process would work with them. This we covered a little bit, but now let's go to the part you've sent the letter, they've contacted you, and now they want you to come back and make a presentation. When you do that, you want to do your homework. You want to get out ahead and find out how many people are on this committee, how many men, how many women, and you want to make up and bring each one a very different and unique type of sample to show them the types of corsages and boutonnieres and that third fashion item that you can be making for them. You're going to leave those samples with them. You're going to let them take them home, let them wear them, but come with a lot of creative ideas so that they can see that. So here's another important thing to keep in mind about what makes up a fundraising committee. Generally, there are two types of people in a fundraising committee. There are the wealthy, and then there are the movers and shakers, the people who get things done. So if you were to sit down and look at what is the plan I have for growing my business next year, and who are the types of customers I want to attract into my flower shop, those two types of people would be on your list. The wealthy, everybody wants the wealthy, and those that know how to make decisions, and the movers and shakers and get things done. So after you've made your approach, you've had the invitation, you've gone up there to share this with them, in essence, what has become a free infomercial for you to come and share about your shop in front of exactly the kinds of people you want to be your customers going forward. So this is going to be a tremendous opportunity for you to be able to show them how you can help them reach their goal and potential people that you want to also be customers for you going forward. So you're going to put together a letter that you'll send to the school saying, we understand you're doing a fundraiser on X, and we would like to be able to help you with that. Don't send an email. Don't make a phone call. Send a letter. It's more professional and it's more tangible. But don't send one letter. If you send one letter, it's likely to get screened by somebody in the office. If they don't understand the importance of your letter, it's likely to go into the trash. Send 20 letters. Send it to the prom committee advisor, the principal, the students on the prom committee, any advisors, coaches, anybody who might have any potential influence in this committee. You want to send them a letter. So I always like to talk about worst case and best case scenario. Your worst case scenario is you send one letter, it gets screened by someone in the office, gets thrown away, and you never hear back from anybody. Your best case scenario, on the other hand, is you sent 20 letters, and all 20 letters show up at the fundraising committee, and as a group, they begin to take them out of their backpacks and out of their pockets and go, did you get one of these? Do you know about this? Can we talk about this? Can we make sure that this is on tonight's agenda? When we get to the section about new business, we want to make sure we talk about this. So you want to make sure that plenty of letters to make sure that they actually get to the committee. You also want to be able to spell out your proposal in some type of detail. Everybody's going to want to know, for the effort we're going to do, what are we going to get? It's about them. Again, it's not about you. So you can do some quick math numbers and potentially say something to them along these lines. And I'm going to make up these numbers. We sell 100 corsages and boutonnieres to students going to the prom. The two combined average $50, and our contribution back to you is going to be 10% of that. 100 times $50, for us, we generate $5,000 in prom sales. We will be giving back to you 10%. In essence, here's $500 to help toward your fundraising. So you would want to look at spelling some of those numbers out and giving them an idea of how it'll work. You may not want to put the actual number of corsages or the number of dollars, but you might want to say that we're looking to be able to give 10% back. So I suggest giving numbers and examples. Some people suggest don't show the numbers until you're actually in front of them and you have an idea who they are and how they feel about it. So this we talked about a little bit about, but here's another key thing about what happens when you get approved and you begin to do a fundraiser with them. 10% of any organization is extremely passionate about that organization. So in this case, again, referring to our school, our band had over 300 students. 10% of those kids live, breathe, die. Everything revolves around what's going on in the band. If you're a sports booster, your children in sports, lots of things take high priority around those sporting events. So one thing that's happened is you've now picked up 10% of that organization to become salespeople for you. And if we're looking at the average flower shop with 3, 4, or 5 employees, you have now just picked up 30 free outside salespeople going around from student to student saying, make sure you get your prom flowers from the flower shop because they're helping us to go, in this case, to go to New York City. So you're going to get 30 salespeople out there promoting for you. The second group of people is even more passionate than the students, and that's the parents. So you're going to get another 10%. You're going to get 10% of the parents who are, again, speaking to parents saying, make sure your children or you order your prom flowers from the flower shop because they're helping us with our fundraiser to go to this event. So you've got students selling to students and parents selling to parents. You just picked up, in this case, 50 free or 60 free salespeople. The organization doesn't have to be that big, but the key point here is you're picking up salespeople who are out promoting your store and what you can do for them after you've made this presentation and the two of you have agreed to work together. So kind of a quick summary of some things here. Prepare your letter of introduction, send it to a lot of people on the committee, send it to people who might have any interaction with the committee, offer the opportunities to more than one school. And you don't have to do it to one school. You also don't have to do it with just one organization in the school. So there was a lady who explained to me that there were 8 schools in her county. She sent it to all the high schools in her county, and 6 of them answered her the same day they received it. Create a unique proposal. I would include some pictures, something that's going to cause them to have some interest. Put together the highlights of your proposal. Make sure you've got that prepared. And then most of all, remember, it's about them. Yes, they're a vehicle to help you, but to get them to pay attention to you, it's about you helping them, not about them helping you. And then, again, understand the impact that this fundraising committee can have on your business. Okay, so after you guys have agreed to work together, the organization has talked about it. Yes, this is something we want to do. You spelled out what you need them to do, which is pretty much tell the whole world about it. Now you want to make sure that you're doing the same thing. First, you want to begin to tell everybody you can. You might want to include a little small brochure on every delivery that you make. You want to put it on your website. You want to put it on your Facebook. You want to put it out on the sign-out store. Stop here for our fundraiser to support X, Y, and Z. Get flyers put together where you're using their logo and your logo. Draw special attention that their organization is having a fundraiser and you're helping them. It's more about them than it is about you. So every way you can, get the word out about this so that you can get as many possible orders coming into your store during this particular time of the year. Okay, so you've done all of this. You've had your fundraiser. You're exhausted because you've got so many orders. Now, it's time to give them their percentage back. Do not sit in your office, pull out your checkbook and write a check and put it in the mail. Instead, what you want to do is to call the school newspaper, call the organization and tell them that you would like to come and present the check to them. and you would like the school newspaper to be there to take a picture of this presentation. You may also want to tell local media about it, newspapers, radio, anybody else that might come and take a picture, and you end up with free advertising about this. Now, at the same time, you're not sending the check. You're sending the giant, what I call the Tiger Woods check. This is when you're going to go to Kinko's or one of those places that create those big, giant checks and get your name put on it and the amount of money that they're going to have. Just like you see people who've won contests, or the new commercial now for the clearinghouse people, they're giving out their prizes, and there is their name very large, the amount of the donation that you're giving very large, and in the upper corner, your logo, the name of your store, again in big letters, so everybody that sees this picture and sees the check knows that it came from you. Get your picture taken, go and make a major presentation out of it. This is a big deal. Then make sure that you get a copy of that and put that up in your store. Make sure everybody who comes through your store knows that you support fundraising, because you really don't care where the money comes from. But if you're helping breast cancer, if you're helping Kiwanis, if you're helping the Little League team, it doesn't make any difference what organization you're working with if they're helping to bring you business and you're helping to give back to the community out of the sales you generate. Now, there are some people who will raise their prices to cover the donation. If you do that, that's entirely up to you. I always get asked the same question: what's better, a percentage or a fixed amount? To me, it doesn't make any difference. For me, if it were me, I would do percentages, because I know that I can use that percentage to drive my sale up. If I'm working with somebody who's hedging about the price or looking at adding more things, I can always use that as a way of saying, let's build more. So, yes, might be a little more than you wanted to. However, don't forget, money is going back to the school and the organization is there. They want to add some more things. Don't forget, anything you add to this, a portion of this is going back to the school to help reach the school's fundraiser goal. So make sure that, so that's why I like percentages. But make sure that when you're talking to them and you're writing the order, that you continually stress to them that a portion of this sale is going back to their fundraising event. Here's an interesting opportunity. A florist told me about this. There was a gentleman that worked at a tuxedo store, and every young man who came in, they went through, and he had a checklist. Do you have your shoes? Do you have your socks? Do you have your cufflinks? Do you have your T-shirt, your tuck shirt studs? Do you have this? Do you have this? Do you have this? And on his list was, do you have the flowers for the girl? And a lot of them said no. And so he would say, well, go down the street to the flower shop. So after a while, he realized he was sending a lot of business down to the flower shop. So he went down to them and said, if I continue to send you people, can I get a commission? By the way, you notice I did say he did not ask for a kickback. He asked for a commission. He's earning a sale to do this. Could he get a commission? They agreed. But one of the things we do when we look at these ideas is we look at how can we make them universally acceptable, or how can we ramp them up. So here's how you ramp this one up. Before you wait for that 1 in a million young man to come into your store and say, can I get a commission for referring to you? You go outside of your store to the tuxedo stores and offer commissions to their salespeople ahead of time. And by being proactive, then you know that you're going to get there before anybody else. You're going to offer them some type of a commission back and be able to increase the number of fundraising opportunities that you have. I recommend that you talk to the individual salespeople and not give it back to the store, because there are certain salespeople that are going to do a great job for you, and they deserve to be recognized and received more. And there's a couple of different things you could do on this commission. Certainly you can do cash. You can do a gas card or an iTunes card or something like that. You could also, depending on if they're going to the prom, give them some type of a discount toward their corsage or boutonniere. But again, it's about being proactive, going out and looking at those tuck shop opportunities, explaining to them what you want them to do and how they'll be compensated for helping you. Great idea that someone shared with us, and I think there's a lot of opportunities there. Don't forget the private schools, and this happens all of the time. Everybody thinks about the public schools, but every private school is raising money. And you're not likely to get the same resistance from the private school where they would say, well, if we work with you, we have to work with everybody. That's not, they don't have that type of thought process. But here's an example of one I got from a flower shop in Lexington, Massachusetts. Not an inexpensive place to live. But what she did is she offered $1.50 for each corsage, and 75 cents for each boutonniere. And she also got to be able to decorate the prom, and she gave a portion back to that. So next year they're going to expand into more private schools. So you're looking for those niches where nobody else is paying attention to, and private schools can be a great way for you to gain some more opportunities. So here's what I want you to do. Who are you going to send the letter to? Here I want you to put down names. Who are the names of the people on the prom committee? Who are the faculty people that you would send this to? Who are the advisors? Who else would you send it to? Now, this is about prom at your school. But at the same time, I want you to work on a second list. Who are the other fundraiser groups that you could do? You might do the prom committee. You might do the band, whoever it is. But is there more than one organization at the school you can work with? Now, keep in mind, just because they're not doing an active fundraiser to do something, they are still always looking for opportunities to raise money. So if you've got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 organizations in the school all working for you, you're getting a lot more publicity and a lot more opportunity to have more people come through the door for you. So what I want you to do now is think about who are the people you can approach with this letter. What are the sports groups? What are the band groups or the musical groups? What are the clubs? What other organizations? The Key Club, the Chess Club. What other organizations? The other is to keep in mind they don't all have to be in the school. If it's the Shriners raising money or Kiwanis raising money or breast cancer raising money, as long as it's a way that works for you to help you raise money and increase your sales by helping the community, any organization is a good organization for you. So don't just limit yourself to what's going on at the school, and don't just limit yourself to just one organization. So on our website, under the support marketing tab, you will find this letter, which has been there for a few years. Nobody uses our letter, and we understand that. But what it is it's a framework for you to be able to see the key components to be able to put together. Personalize it yourself, put it on your letterhead, put pictures of what you're going to do. These are just kind of key points to look at, including. And again, these are on our website under the support marketing tab. Okay, that's all I have for you today. What questions do you have for me? Jamie, we have any questions?
We do not.
Okay. Well, next week in the morning, we're doing brooch bouquets. Susie Kostick will be doing that. We have brooch bouquet kits now. We have a lot of brooches in wedding work, brooches in prom work. We're actually having people asking us about brooch corsages. Brooches are extremely popular right now. So next week in the morning, we're doing brooch bouquets. And then in the afternoon, we're doing beyond boutonnieres, fancy, expensive boutonnieres. So thank you very much. That's all we've got for today. We'll look forward to seeing you next week. Tell everybody you can about this. We want to have as many folks on here as possible. Thanks again. Have a great day.